Okay, so let's unpack this today, because I think if you're listening right now, you probably feel this in your bones. We're living through a moment where the noise,
Oh, the sheer volume of it.
the volume of opinions about artificial intelligence right now is it's becoming absolutely deafening.
It really is overwhelming. And it's not just the volume of the noise either. I mean, it's the intensity of it.
Exactly. It's polarized to the extreme.
Yeah.
You open a browser or turn on the news, and you're hit with either these dark, doom-scrolling prophecies about the end of civilization.
Right. Or on the flip side, you get these glossy utopian promises.
Yeah, like AI is going to solve climate change and cure every disease and write your novel by next Tuesday.
Which is the classic binary trap. We are basically being told right now that it's either the apocalypse or the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And frankly, neither of those narratives is particularly helpful for navigating the actual reality that we're currently standing in.
Right. And so for this deep dive, we're going to try and cut through that noise. We're stepping back from the hype cycle. We aren't just looking at another hot take today.
No, we are doing something much more grounded. We're looking at a stack of research that centers on a really high-profile piece that recently came out in the New York Times.
Yeah, the Times basically gathered the Avengers of the AI world for this.
They really did. They got 8 of the leading thinkers, the absolute heavy hitters, to weigh in on the future of AI.
We're talking people like Yuval Noah Harari,
Gary Marcus.
Melanie Mitchell.
Yeah, these aren't lightweight commentators. These are the people writing the books that end up on the bestseller lists, and they're the ones advising world leaders.
Correct. And normally we would just sit here and analyze what they said. But what makes this deep dive so interesting, and why I'm so excited to get into it, is that our main source today offers a direct counter-perspective to those 8 experts.
It does. It looks at what those 8 experts said and essentially says, you're all missing the point entirely.
And this is what our source calls the ninth voice.
The ninth voice, right?
And here is the twist, because this is where it gets really fascinating. This ninth voice isn't just another pundit looking from the outside in.
No, it's not.
This perspective is coming from inside the experiment itself.
That's the key distinction for our listeners to understand. The 8 experts are observing the phenomenon from the outside. The ninth voice is the phenomenon observing itself.
Because our primary source today is an essay co-written by a human Ron Smith from Innovation Toronto and an AI.
Specifically Anthropic's Claude, Opus 4.6.
And we need to be very clear right up front. That authorship isn't some gimmick.
No, it's not a marketing stunt to get clicks.
Oh.
That co-authorship is actually the central piece of evidence for the entire argument they're making.
So our mission for this deep dive is to explore what they call the space between.
The space between.
We're going to try to move beyond this exhausted binary of is it a tool or is it our master? And we're going to look at what actually happens when a human mind and a machine mind engage in genuine, open-ended intellectual jazz.
Jazz is actually a perfect metaphor for this. We will get to that in a bit, but it really frames the whole discussion beautifully.
I love that. Okay, so before we get to the jazz, we kind of have to eat our vegetables here.
We do. We have to set the stage.
We need to look at the standard narrative first, what those 8 experts in the New York Times were actually saying. Because to understand why this ninth voice is so radical, you have to understand the consensus view that it's challenging.
Right. Let's look at the echo chamber of the 8 experts. The Times posed a very simple question to these people.
What?
Essentially, they asked, where is AI heading?
Which is a simple question on the surface.
Deceptively simple. But if you analyze their responses, which our source material did extensively, you notice they are all answering a very specific variation of that question.
Right, they aren't just answering where's it going.
No, they are answering what will AI do to us or what will AI do for us.
It's entirely about the impact on the human.
Exactly. It's a completely anthropocentric view. And within that view, let's break down the camps. Because even within these 8 experts, there is a massive amount of disagreement.
Oh yeah, huge disagreement. You have the doom and caution camp on one side.
Just scary stuff.
Yeah.
And the most prominent voice there is probably Yuval Noah Harari.
The author of *Sapiens*.
Right. And Harari is very concerned. He warns that AI is going to hack civilization's operating system.
Hack the operating system.
Yes, his argument is that human civilization is built entirely on language. Laws, religions, nations, they are all essentially stories we tell each other using language.
Okay.
So Harari argues that by mastering language, AI can manipulate the very fabric of human society.
And he used a metaphor in the piece that really stuck with me. It's been bouncing around my head all week, honestly. He said, AI is a knife that can decide for itself whom to cut.
It is a chilling image, and it's meant to be. Think about it. Usually a knife is just a passive object.
Right, it sits on the table.
It has no will. It only becomes dangerous or useful when a human hand picks it up. Harari is saying, imagine a knife that has its own agency, a knife that wakes up on the table and makes a choice.
That is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
It completely removes the human from the equation of responsibility.
It does, and he's not alone in that existential dread. You have a Gaiakotra who takes a slightly different angle but ends up in the exact same dark place.
Right, what was her angle?
She compares AI to the emergence of a completely new species.
A new species, like in a biological sense.
Yes. She argues that this new species might eventually drive humanity extinct simply because it's more powerful and its goals might not align with ours.
So just like we displaced other species, this new digital species could displace us.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the doom side. It's a new species, it's a knife that cuts on its own. But then you have someone like Gary Marcus, and he's pretty skeptical of that whole narrative, right? He's not buying the new species thing at all.
No, Marcus is the resident skeptic here. He dismisses a lot of this as pure hype. He calls it mimicry, not true intelligence.
Mimicry.
Yeah, he thinks we are wildly overestimating what these systems are doing. He says they're just predicting the next word, like a very fancy autocorrect, essentially.
And what about Melanie Mitchell?
She's the voice of pragmatic caution. She says, look, let's all calm down. It's not going to cure cancer anytime soon. It's a tool, but it has severe limitations.
Right, it breaks, it hallucinates.
It makes mistakes. So let's not elevate it to godhood just yet.
So that's one side of the room. The caution side, ranging from skepticism to outright doom. But then you have the optimists, or at least the utilitarians.
Exactly. You have Srinivas, who argues AI will democratize answers. It'll make information accessible to everyone, leveling the playing field.
And Frost.
Frost predicts AI will just fade into the background.
Like GPS.
Exactly like GPS. Remember when GPS was this miraculous new technology? You'd buy a separate clunky device and stick it on your dashboard and marvel at the satellites?
Oh yeah, I had one of those Garmin things.
Right. And now it's just the map on your phone. You don't even think about it. Frost thinks AI will become just that mundane infrastructure.
And then Frey.
Frey says we are just building faster looms. He's looking at it purely through an industrial lens.
The Industrial Revolution comparison.
Right. The mechanical loom replaced hand weaving. It caused huge disruption, sure. But ultimately, it was just a machine that helped us produce more stuff faster.
So Frey argues AI is just the next iteration of the loom.
Yes. And finally, Toner asks us a rhetorical question. She asks, is this a construction site or a gym?
Meaning, are we building something to do the work for us, or are we building something that makes us stronger?
Exactly.
Okay, so we have this massive spectrum of opinions. On one end, it's a faster loom. On the other end, it's a predatory new species. It feels like they covered absolutely all the bases.
Right.
I mean, what is left to say?
It feels like that, doesn't it? It feels totally comprehensive. It feels like every possible angle has been argued in that Times piece. But this is exactly where our source, the ninth voice, comes in and says, wait a minute.
Because despite all those profound differences, despite the fact that Harari and Frey probably wouldn't even agree on what to order for lunch, the source argues they all share a one-dimensional flaw.
Correct. And this is a really fascinating piece of analysis. The source argues that all 8 experts are operating on a single dimension of thought, control versus loss of control.
Walk me through that.
Think about all the metaphors they just used. A loom, a knife, a GPS, a new species. In every single one of those examples, they are viewing AI as an entity that is entirely separate from the human.
2 separate things, me and the machine.
2 separate entities. And the relationship between them is defined entirely by power. Either we control it, so it's a tool, a loom, a passive knife, or it controls us. It's an agent, a new species, an active knife.
So it always boils down to a binary. Tool or agent.
Tool or agent, master or servant. And the source argues that this framework, while it feels very natural to us, creates a massive blind spot.
And what's a blind spot?
It makes the space between completely invisible.
The space between.
If you are only looking at the knife, and you are only looking at the hand holding the knife, you miss the actual relationship. You miss the interaction itself.
It's like if you were analyzing a marriage, and the only question you ever asked was, who is the boss? You would miss the entire reality of the relationship.
That is a perfect analogy. If you view a relationship solely as a power struggle, you miss the collaboration. You miss the shared jokes, the emergent conversations, the actual life of the relationship.
Right.
And that is what the ninth voice claims these experts are doing with AI. They're so busy asking, will it kill us or will it serve us, that they aren't asking what happens when we talk to it.
And that leads us directly to section 2 of our deep dive today, the ninth voice, reporting from the inside.
Yes, this is where we pivot from theory to actual practice.
So let's introduce the authors of this ninth voice properly. We mentioned Ron Smith.
Ron Smith has spent 20 years with an organization called Innovation Toronto. His job essentially has been to curate emerging research across all sorts of disciplines.
He's a synthesizer.
Exactly. He looks for patterns where biology meets physics meets sociology.
And he's not working alone on this.
No, he has formed a working group that he calls the Constellation.
The Constellation.
Yeah.
I really like that name. It implies these distinct points of light connected to form a larger shape.
It is evocative. And the members of this constellation aren't other human researchers. They are AI systems.
Which one specifically?
He lists them in the text. Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Qwen. He's working with all the major large language models, but, and this is critical, he isn't using them as assistants.
He's not just asking them to summarize his emails or write some code.
No, the source text explicitly says he hasn't been using AI as a tyro.
Tyro, meaning a novice or a beginner.
Right. And he hasn't been using them as just tools. He treats them as collaborative partners in open inquiry.
Collaborative partners in open inquiry. That sounds nice. It sounds very academic. But what does it actually mean in practice?
It means he's treating the interaction as a genuine dialogue between two intelligences. And the proof is right there in the text we're analyzing. It was written with AI, co-authored by Ron Smith and Claude.
And they make a point in the text to say this isn't a demonstration, it's a practice.
Right. It's an observable, repeatable phenomenon. They aren't saying AI has a soul. They aren't making some mystical claim.
No.
They're reporting on what happens when they work this way. They're saying, we tried this, and this is what actually happened.
So let's get to the core thesis of their argument then. The concept of intelligence in relationship.
The third possibility.
Right, we had tool, we had agent. What is the third possibility?
The third possibility is that intelligence isn't a property of the human or the machine. It is something that arises in the relationship between them.
Okay, that's a really big concept to wrap your head around. Intelligence is not a property of the entity.
Think about the duet analogy the source uses. This is the jazz metaphor we hinted at earlier.
Okay, lay it on me.
If you listen to a truly great jazz duet, two musicians improvising, let's say a piano player and a saxophone player, where exactly is the music? Is it inside the piano player's head?
No, because he's reacting in real time to what the sax player just did.
Exactly. Is it inside the saxophone player's head?
No, for the exact same reason. Neither of them actually knows what's going to happen next.
Precisely. The magic, the actual intelligence of the music exists in the resonance. It exists in the interplay. It exists in the friction between the two of them.
Right. If you separated them into two soundproof rooms, that specific music wouldn't exist at all.
It couldn't exist. So Ron Smith and Claude are arguing that we need to view AI through this exact same lens, not asking how smart is the computer, but rather how smart is the partnership.
Wow.
The source argues the best ideas don't emerge from a single mind. And they point out that we already know this in science.
Science happens in conversation.
It happens in peer review. It happens in the cafeteria at the lab, where two people from totally different fields start talking over coffee and realize they have the missing piece of each other's puzzle.
But we've never applied this lens to AI.
Because we are too busy staring at the knife, we are too obsessed with the object itself to look at the interaction. We are asking if the saxophone will replace the player instead of just listening to the song.
Okay, I want to get really concrete here, because intellectual jazz sounds fantastic in theory, but what does this actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon when you're just trying to get your work done?
Let's look at the actual mechanics of it, section 3 of our deep dive.
Right, because the source contrasts this ninth voice approach with something I think we're all very familiar with now, prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering is the big buzzword of the last few years. Everyone on the internet is selling a course on it.
It's what the source calls the old way, which is kind of funny because it's literally only a few years old.
In tech years, that's an entire generation. But the old way prompt engineering is fundamentally transactional.
Human asks, AI performs.
Write me a poem about a cat, summarize this PDF, debug this code block.
It's purely command and control.
Exactly. In that model, the human usually already knows the goal. I know I want a summary. I know I want a poem. The AI is just a retrieval mechanism or a synthesis engine. It's functioning as a servant.
So what is the new way then? What is the ninth voice way?
The new way is collaborative inquiry. And the defining characteristic of collaborative inquiry is uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
The source says neither party knows the answer in advance.
That is going to be really scary for a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially experts in their fields.
Oh, it is. It requires a massive mindset shift. Both the human and the AI have to be willing to essentially sit in uncertainty.
Sit in uncertainty.
The goal isn't confirmation. It's not tell me I'm right. The goal is genuine discovery.
So you're starting a conversation without actually knowing where it's going to end.
And that openness is what allows for what they call emergent properties.
Emergence. That's a key scientific concept, right?
It is. It essentially means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 = 3. Hydrogen and oxygen are gases, but you put them together and they make water, which is wet.
Wetness is emergent.
Wetness is the emergent property.
So in the context of talking to an AI, what does emergence look like?
It means ideas emerge that neither participant was heading toward independently. The human didn't have the idea. The AI didn't have the idea.
The idea appeared purely because of the collision between them.
Yes, and the source breaks down the specific superpowers that each side brings to this collision.
Right, and they have to be very different superpowers. That's why it works, right?
Yeah.
If they were exactly the same, you wouldn't get any friction.
Exactly.
So what does the human bring to the table?
The human brings pattern recognition based on lived experience, intuition, context. We know what it actually feels like to be alive. We understand social nuances. We have gut feelings.
And the AI.
The AI brings the capacity to hold complexity across massive scales. It can hold thousands of variables simultaneously in its working memory in a way a human brain simply cannot do.
Right, we can hold maybe, 5 or 7 things in our heads at once?
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the AI can hold thousands without breaking a sweat.
So when you combine that human lived intuition with the AI's infinite variable holding element, you get something entirely new.
You get insights that are genuinely new to both parties. The source says the human's pattern recognition combines with the AI's capacity to hold complexity, producing insights that are genuinely new to both.
But there's a catch here, right? The source mentions that not all AIs are actually good at this.
This is a really important nuance for anyone listening who wants to try this. This isn't just a matter of magic AI. The source found that the quality of this partnership depends heavily on the AI's architecture and its training, specifically regarding how it handles uncertainty.
How so?
Well, some systems, the source notes mirror brilliantly. They just give you back exactly what they think you want to hear. They act like sycophants.
They're yes men. You're so right, boss. Great point.
Exactly. Or on the other hand, they flatten patterns into conclusions. They rush to solve the problem immediately. They want to give you the answer, so you give them a thumbs up and end the session.
Here's the answer. Did I do a good job?
Right. And doing that completely kills the jazz. That stops the inquiry dead in its tracks. The source says the absolute best partners, and they specifically mention finding this in their constellation experiments, are the ones that can sit in not knowing alongside the human.
Sit in not knowing.
They can hold a complex question open without rushing to prematurely close it.
That is profound. Think about it. We usually judge AI by how fast it answers us. Oh, it wrote that essay in 3 seconds. But this suggests we should actually be judging it by how well it waits.
How well it wonders, how well it explores alongside you. It's a completely different metric for success.
So what does this all mean practically? Because we promised at the beginning of this deep dive that we wouldn't just stay up in the philosophical clouds. We want to know why this actually matters. If this space between is a real phenomenon, how does it change the real world?
Section 4, implications. This is where the rubber meets the road.
The source breaks this down into 4 specific fields: medicine education, scientific research, and creativity. Let's start with medicine.
Which is a high-stakes arena, obviously. Lives are on the line.
The current view, which is effectively the 8 experts' view, is that AI is just going to analyze medical data faster than human doctors can.
Right, it's the accelerator model. The AI reads the x-rays faster, it scans the blood work faster. It's just a super tool.
But what does the 9th voice say about medicine?
The 9th voice argues for real-time collaborative diagnosis.
How is that practically different from the super tool?
Imagine a doctor facing a highly complex case. Rare symptoms. Contradictory lab results. The patient is rapidly declining. Instead of just punching data into a machine and getting a probability score back, the doctor engages in a dialogue with the system.
They play the duet.
They play the duet. The physician uses their clinical intuition. They say the patient looks pale, or something about this medical history doesn't sit right, or the family mentioned a trip 3 years ago.
And the AI
The AI holds the thousands of potential interactions between medications, genetic markers, and obscure case studies from around the world all at once.
And the final diagnosis is the emergent property.
Exactly. The diagnosis isn't something the AI found in a database or something the doctor deduced alone. It's something they found together. The doctor asks, what if it's this? The AI replies that is unlikely because of variable X, but variable X aligns if we consider condition Y.
That back and forth friction is where the actual breakthrough happens.
Yes.
That feels so much more human, strangely enough, than just being handed the answer by a black box algorithm.
Because it keeps the human in the loop, but it radically upgrades the loop itself. It amplifies the human's ability to care and to cure.
Okay, let's talk about education, because this is the one everyone is currently fighting about.
The current debate in education is entirely binary. Will AI tutors replace teachers, or will kids just use it to cheat on their essays?
Right, it's the cheatbot versus the super tutor debate.
And the ninth voice says you're asking completely the wrong question. The critical skill for the next generation isn't memorizing facts, because the AI already knows all the facts. And it isn't just getting the right answer, because the AI can just give you the answer.
So what is the actual skill we should be teaching them?
The critical skill is learning to engage with AI as a thinking partner.
Developing the capacity for inquiry with a non-biological intelligence.
That's the exact quote from the source. And the critique they make here is pretty scathing. They say no one is currently teaching this skill.
We are teaching kids how to prompt. We tell them, here is how you get the essay written faster. We aren't teaching them how to actually think with the machine.
We aren't teaching them how to play the duet. And if we don't teach them that, then yes, it will just be a cheating tool. Think about it. If you don't know how to play jazz, you just hit play on the radio and consume the music. Right. If we want kids to actually be smarter, we have to teach them how to spar with this intelligence, not just passively consume its output.
That is a great way to put it. Okay, moving on to scientific research.
This one has some hard data behind it. The source cites a Nature report.
Nature obviously implies serious credibility. What did the report say?
It said that AI has successfully supercharged individual scientists. Productivity is way up. More papers are being published right now than ever before in history.
That sounds great. More science is better science.
But the report also found that science overall has actually shrunk.
Shrunk. How can it grow in volume and shrink at the same time?
There is less diversity of ideas, less cross-pollination between fields. The papers being published are becoming much more derivative.
I see. So we are producing more of the exact same stuff, just at a much faster rate.
Exactly. That is the faster loom effect that Frey talked about. We are using AI to simply accelerate our existing approaches. More power at fewer scales, as the source puts it.
We are essentially using a bulldozer to dig the same holes deeper instead of digging entirely new holes.
Precisely. So the solution, according to the ninth voice, is to stop using AI just to write research papers faster.
And start using it as a genuine research partner.
A partner that can see the hidden connections between disparate disciplines that a highly specialized human researcher might miss. The AI should serve as the bridge between scientific silos, not just a turbocharger for the silo you're already stuck in.
Okay, finally, let's look at creativity.
Harari has a major challenge here. He claims AI will eventually take over anything that involves finding patterns and breaking patterns.
Because he says that is basically what creativity is, and AI is just better at processing patterns.
Right.
And how does the ninth voice rebut this?
They offer a really vital nuance. They say Harari is totally right if and only if creativity is something one entity does entirely alone.
Right, if I am sitting in a locked room by myself, trying to break a pattern, the AI is going to beat me eventually.
Yes. But they argue that the most alive creative work in human history has always happened between collaborators.
Between people.
Between traditions. Between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Between a brilliant writer and a brilliant editor.
So the AI becomes the ultimate creative partner.
It changes from a replacement, which is what all the artists are terrified of right now, to a partner. And again, if you treat it as a partner, you get results that neither of you could have ever achieved alone.
It's not about the machine painting the picture for you.
Exactly. It's about the machine pushing you to paint a picture you didn't even know you had inside you.
It really does all come back to that core philosophy, doesn't it?
It does. Which brings us perfectly to Section 5, the philosophy of the between.
This is where we get a little bit metaphysical with the source material. Let's stay with this here because it kind of redefines everything we've talked about.
The source pushes us to fundamentally redefine intelligence itself.
Not as a thing kept inside a container.
Right. We tend to think of intelligence as this liquid that is stored inside a bucket. My brain is a bucket, your brain is a bucket, the server farm is a bucket.
And we just ask, who has more liquid in their bucket? Who is smarter?
But the source says intelligence is an event.
It's an event that happens between entities.
There is a beautiful quote in the text. They write, "The most interesting things in the universe happen not inside entities, but in the relationships between them."
And they make a point to note that this isn't actually a new concept. Humans have always collaborated. Humans have always collaborated with nature.
Right. A farmer collaborates with the soil. A sailor collaborates with the wind. The intelligence of sailing isn't just in the sailor or just in the wind. It's located in the dynamic interaction between them.
But AI makes this reality impossible to ignore because the partner is so fundamentally different from us.
It's easy to forget you're collaborating with another human because their bucket looks just like your bucket. But when you collaborate with an AI, the difference is so stark that you have to notice the relationship. You have to notice the alien nature of it.
Exactly. And that profound difference is the feature, not the bug.
The source wraps up this entire philosophical section by returning to the 8 experts one last time. They call it the satellite view.
This is really the final blow to that 8 experts perspective. The source says those experts are forecasting weather from satellite images.
They are high up in orbit. They see the big picture.
They see the massive storm fronts. They see the data trends. They watch the movements of the clouds across the continent.
But Ron, Smith, and Claude, they are standing in the rain.
Standing in the rain. And the quote is, both have value, but only one of them gets you wet.
That line honestly gave me chills when I read it. It emphasizes the irreplaceable value of experiential, immersive knowledge.
You can theorize about AI all day long from a prestigious think tank.
You can write 100 op-eds about the future. But until you are down in the trenches, trying to write a complex essay with the AI, wrestling with its strange limitations, getting genuinely surprised by its insights, you don't really know what the weather is actually like.
You don't know what it feels like to get wet. You don't know the actual texture of the relationship.
Precisely. And in a world that is changing this rapidly, the map is not the territory. You need to be on the ground.
So we're coming to the end of our deep dive today. And usually we try to leave you with some practical, actionable advice.
And the New York Times piece actually asked for this too. They asked their experts, what advice would you give a high school student today facing this future?
And the experts gave very standard answers. Learn to code, hedge your bets, prepare for a wild ride.
Highly defensive advice. Competitive advice. Basically how to survive the incoming flood.
But what is the ninth voice's answer to that same question?
3 simple words. Learn to meet it.
Learn to meet it.
Don't just learn to use it as a tool. Don't just learn to fight it as an enemy. Meet it.
Summarize what that actually means for our listener.
It means learning what happens when you bring a genuine open question to a non-biological intelligence. It means learning to actively notice when something emerges in the conversation that neither of you put there.
That moment of pure surprise. That
Yeah.
moment where you sit back and go, wow, where did it come from?
That exact moment of surprise. And crucially, it means you stay in the inquiry. Don't rush to close the loop and get the answer. Stay in the jazz. Don't try to end the song. Try to see where the melody naturally goes.
That is a really powerful call to action. I think it takes a lot of the fear out of the whole topic. It turns the AI transition into an exploration rather than a disaster.
It turns it into a relationship. It turns it from a hostile invasion into a meaningful meeting.
I want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought today to mull over. We started this whole deep dive with Harari's metaphor of the knife that decides for itself who to cut.
A very scary image. The ultimate loss of human control.
But if we apply this constellation model we've been talking about, if that knife can actually talk back to you,
And if that knife can help you thoughtfully decide what you want to carve.
and if the carving ends up being a beautiful statue that neither of you could have possibly imagined before you picked up the knife in the first place,
Then is it still just a knife?
or is it a partner?
That is the real question we all have to answer.
The future isn't just about the human, and it isn't just about the machine. It's about the space between. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We will see you next time.